This next question is a good one, and I'm going to be shooting from the hip and just kind of letting you know what we do. But man, how do I hold my loved one accountable? Isn't that really what it comes down to? Is communication, accountability through clear boundaries. So I'm just going to kind of spitball as I go on. But this is one of the things that when you are in the program or your loved one is, we really work hand in hand with the family to make sure that the family is healing. Addiction is really one of the only diseases that doesn't just primarily affect the person that has it. It affects the entire family dynamic in some real crazy ways. So a lot of the stuff that we do, and we actually have a video library that once your loved one is apart here, you have access to. And it's not just why they're here, you have access to that for life. We go ahead and leave your credentials so you can come in and watch it again and again. Maybe you're like me, I will watch a video series one time or read a book one time, come back 6 months later, see the same thing again and go, when did they add that part to the book that's been sitting on my shelf? So we are very clear on, regardless of the season you're in, we hear different things in different seasons. So one of the first and foremost things that we're very big on and do a lot of educational training, not just for the person inside, but the family, is on boundaries. So many people, once they learn this wonderful word of boundaries and they learn what it is, they think, great. So they just go throwing boundaries all over. And that's the easy part. We get into the not just how to set, but how to hold a boundary. And that's where most people struggle. The thought process that a lot of the times confuses people is they say, I don't get it. I set the boundary and this person just blew right through it. I don't understand. This still needs work. And so what we look at and what we train on is not just setting the boundary, but of how to hold the boundary. And one of the metaphors we came up with years ago is when I set a boundary, it's there so they know where my line is. And what we help clients and loved ones deal with and work through is when a person runs full speed at the boundary, it's not to beat the person up. We actually step aside and let them hit that wall. And when they do, just picture someone running full force into a concrete block wall, a boundary, and they hit it and they fall down and they're hurt. That's where we come up, and once we have set and hold the boundary, holding the boundary, come up and says, gosh, that looks like it hurt. Can I help clean you up? Can we talk about this? It's not a thing of respect the boundary. You can't do this. We let the person hit the boundary as many times as it takes because there's consequences. It's that wall that says, hey, do not pass code. Do not collect $200. Old school Monopoly reference. But we want to be there to meet them with compassionate confrontation when we're holding a boundary. So we can say, hey, here's the boundary. This is why this is set. Here's what I'm wanting. Now let's talk about it. And what we have found over 22 years in working with thousands and thousands and thousands of clients and thousands and thousands and thousands of families is the following. When a person knows that there's no weapons that we're bringing into it, that we're not sitting there with blame or shame or guilt or resentment and the finger pointing, that we sit there and we can create this space and sit with them emphatically. Even jump in the well with them. And just to sit there and say, hey, I can see this is a struggle. What can I do to help? And this is where a lot of people get confused. They think, oh, so you're not going to hold the boundary? Well, no, the boundary was set. The boundary is held. I'm not saying, oh, forget about the boundary. What I'm saying is, how can I help? Because this wall is impenetrable. And I want to help you not get hurt through this process. So we actually go into a series of trainings on that, of the actual how to do it. I just wanted to explain the why it's important and what we do. So that is number one for boundaries. Another thing that we go really in depth with is communication, because if you think about it, every issue on earth stems from miscommunication. Whether it's an issue with myself of a miscommunication or misunderstanding or unspoken expectation, or with another person. So we actually go through a 4-step process. We have learned, what I've learned is the fewer amount of steps I can break something down into and to teach the framework, the higher results are of people actually following through and doing them. So we have utilized for a very long time 4 steps of effective communication. And it's how we are able to sit down even in the most chaotic space or place with a person and to be able to hear what that unmet or unspoken need is, how to converse through it, and how to understand what it is that they're wanting and vice versa. And it's incredible. We do a lot of family sessions that we go through these 4 steps. We do a lot of one-on-one. And just from those 4 steps, we see relationships begin to change and flourish. And so those are just two examples of how we can help you hold your loved one accountable through the 4 steps of highly effective communication, and then how to set and hold boundaries. So excited for you to come through and to learn those exact steps of how to do it, because the results are phenomenal. We have a lot of people that will come in ready to get a divorce. And it's not always, but a lot of the time, once they learn how to communicate and they do some family sessions, they're both wanting the same thing. Have you ever noticed that? So many times we're wanting the same thing, but we can't hear each other because we're coming after each other and we're utilizing our weapons, and there's just so much going on. And when it only takes one to communicate effectively, once we learn how to put the weapons down and how to be present and to be there, and to figure out what it is they desire, what it is I desire, and how to meet those desires, and if we're willing to, it creates a complete different dynamic. So yes, how to hold your loved one accountable. We go deep and deep and deep into that. And so with the 4 steps, we go over the how, but now you know why it's so important.